one day it's simply there, alive inside your heart. It slips into your thoughts, it infiltrates your soul, it takes you by surprise, then seizes for
Because obviously it's there and it's fantastic. When you go to this one, I would just think of an R slightly. Oh, no, because you're just slightly higher. I would just open it up a little bit more for that one. So it's not quite as ringy as the one before. And try it, but I mean not too much, but just a slight feeling of it. Yeah, just sort of. Yeah.
Superb, yeah. Quite wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for the song.
Well, I think it's probably that's as good as it gets.
Hey, maybe I can ask you.
I don't think we want a big chord at the end of it. I just honestly think I think love lives on.
And then.
And that's it.
Okay.
Because I think it'll stop the show completely. Just let that thing happen. I mean, with all of the really great arias, they never have big endings.
Yeah. It did. It felt. I thought
Wrong.
it was going to end. Okay. And then with Fleeting, we had
Yes.
tried in the.
I know fleeting. Yes. But I think you did that superbly.
Okay.
It was just literally that it got a great sodding great chord at the end of it. We get rid of it.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Obey your heart and sing for me. You want it so. That's great.
I would do that when you're fresher. I really would.
In the case of Love Never Dies, you're dealing with somebody else's legend. And you have to be very careful how you do that. How you awaken fears in people, how you tread on their memories, how they basically respect what you're doing. Because a lot of people think they own that story. They think they know that story.
He's actually sing once again for me, da 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 da. That's what his thought is, and it's about the love of his life is going to sing, for the first time for 10 years. He's going to hear that voice again, and he's apprehensive about the fact that she might sing. Originally, we thought that we'd roll out Love Never Dies internationally very quickly. In fact, we thought about doing 3 productions at the same time, but we drew back from that because I wasn't absolutely certain that we could cast it sufficiently well immediately like that. I thought we must get the initial cast completely right, which is why we've got this unique thing of an album already recorded which contains our original cast. I don't think that's ever been done before. I think the A is better. Well, our lead is the present Phantom in London, who's been playing it for a long time and has been a really popular, very sexy Phantom, I have to say. And he's just great. We've just finished the recording of the complete album. It's all done now, unusually for a show. And our other principal, Sierra Boggis, who played the Little Mermaid in New York, I've known for a while because she also played Christine as a young girl when she was, she's very young now, but she was only 21 when she did Christine in Vegas for me in the Las Vegas version of Phantom. A terrific actress, and having just now recorded the whole thing and finished it, I know that they are an incredible fit. The passion that there is between the two of them, I mean, it's almost sort of unbearable at sometimes. It's so strong.
He's the golden voice behind the Phantom's mask, and he's Canadian. Ramin Karimloo is one of Andrew Lloyd Webber's leading men, a musical star in London's West End. But following his heart hasn't always been easy. Stuart Greer has more on this Canadian kid turned international star.
Down to the core.
It's opening night for the most anticipated sequel of all time, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Love Never Dies.
Always feel no more than halfway real.
It's the follow-up to the longest-running musical ever, The Phantom of the Opera. And it's the hottest ticket in London's West End. The mystery of the man behind the mask has captured audiences for more than 2 decades. Turns out the man behind this mask is really just a Canadian kid at heart.
You want some? Look at that, Tim Hortons. It's starting to make its way over here in the UK.
He is 32-year-old Raman Karamlu from Peterborough, Ontario, the first Canadian cast in the role of Phantom on this famous stage.
For me, you want it so.
Creator Andrew Lloyd Webber was so impressed that when it came time to find the Phantom for his sequel, there was just one guy he wanted, the Canadian.
Well, our lead is the present Phantom in London, who's been playing it for a long time and has been a really popular, very sexy Phantom, I have to say. And he's just great.
So how does an ordinary kid from Canada land the most sought-after role in the world? Well, it's a journey to stardom worthy of an opera of its own.
It was just so surreal. I just couldn't stop laughing. I thought, this is ridiculous. And I kept thinking, the Rolodex of numbers going through my head. I'm like, who could I phone to tell them? Guess what?
The year is 1986. Phantom of the Opera debuts at Her Majesty's Theatre, and the story of a disfigured musical genius who becomes obsessed with a beautiful soprano is an instant hit. 24 years later, it's made $5 billion at the box office, and it can still pack an audience. But 12-year-old Raman didn't know anything about all that on the day 20 years ago when he went to see the Phantom for the first time.
We had a school trip to go see the Phantom of the Opera, and I reluctantly went. The only reason I went is the day off school. By the end of the show, I was really moved, and I was excited throughout the whole show. And well, one thing I kept thinking is, don't cry, because you're a hockey player, you gotta be a tough guy. I thought, I can't control this, is unbelievable. And I thought, maybe I'd like to, that'd be cool, I'd do that. Maybe I want to be an actor and I'll play the Phantom. And all my friends were like, yeah, right, whatever.
Raman was as obsessed as the man in the mask himself. So when the family moved to Toronto, it was his chance to see the Phantom some 25 times in all, even skipping class to do it.
Because there was always good ticket deals too, but I really had a good time, and it's the one thing I really connected with. I didn't even know why.
Back in Toronto, Raman's big brother, Shervin, is his biggest fan. And his 3 nephews,
Make a bed.
budding Phantoms. Shervin has the kind of memories you might expect of 2 brothers growing up in Canada.
As soon as you're done school till it's time to come home and go to bed, they're playing ice hockey.
So imagine Shervin's surprise when his little brother dumped sports for love of the stage.
He was just this little punk grade 9 kid saying, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And you'd never think seriously about it. And sure enough, not even 10 years later, he accomplished that goal. So it was really impressive.
Toronto's Alexander Mackenzie High School in Richmond Hill is about as far away from the bright lights of Broadway or London's West End as you can get.
Here he is in his grade 9 class, looking very innocent and young, and little Raman.
But at school concert one year, Christopher Cantland remembers how little Raman transformed the stage.
He opened his mouth and sang a song from Phantom, and just everybody's jaw hit the floor, and it was this amazing moment. We were all agog. So that was the first sort of wow.
He had no formal training, didn't read music, and learned everything by ear. But the kid was determined. So when legendary stage singer Cole Wilkinson played the Phantom in Toronto, Raman would wait for him at the stage door.
I asked him, what was your training? And he was very unorthodox. He came from the rock side of things. So I thought, well, that's the only sort of reference I had, so I'll do what he does.
So he started a tragically hip cover band.
And that was for me an acting gig, because my role was to try and be Gordon Downie, sound like him, move like him, talk like him, which was great. It was a lot of fun.
Wind on weather vane.
These days, he still warms up the vocal cords with a hip tune.
Staring blue-eyed sailor me.
But getting to the stage takes a lot more than starting a garage band.
I was just reading through one of the papers, and there was an audition for a cruise ship. I thought, I need singers, maybe I'll give that a shot.
He got the gig, And after singing show tunes on a cruise ship, he landed bit parts in London, England. Then, at just 22, a big break, a role in the blockbuster Les Miserables, and suddenly there was no looking back. In 2007, he convinced producers to cast him as the youngest actor ever to play the Phantom.
I was 26 at the time, and he said, "Aren't you a bit young?" I said, "Yeah, but I have an idea." So next thing I knew, a week later, the music was sent to my dressing room, and thank God he took a chance with me.
That chance paid off. Suddenly, the boy from Peterborough was drawing crowds.
When I'm backstage with him and we're coming out the actor's door in the back, and there's this throng of people waiting to get his autograph, and that I was just blown away going, "Are you kidding me? That's my little brother. Why would you want his autograph?"
But the creator of the Phantom knew there was more story to be told. He wrote the sequel. Set 10 years later in America, the Phantom encounters his lost love.
And you're not here.
Once again, the Canadian found himself thrust upon the stage. Once again, the man behind the mask in the sequel Love Never Dies.
I saw myself on a bus. I'm looking at it going, it just still doesn't set in. It's just so surreal. Sometimes I think about my life and I just think, it's odd that I'm doing the things I wanted to do.
But the theater is a tough mistress. In the first weeks, critics panned the show, dubbing it Paint Never Dries. But it's made a comeback, and $14 million in advance ticket sales to boot. Now the show is going on the road to Australia, New York, and yes, Toronto in 2011.
That would be the ultimate dream. First of all, to work in Toronto, I've never done that, so my homecoming would be my debut. To be behind the mask, to do it too, talk about full circle. That'd be great.
It's hard for me to wrap my head around. I mean, to me, that's just still my little brother. I still can't grasp that he's as big of a star as he is.
The next act in Raman Karimlu's show-stopping life, coming soon to a theater near you.
Where dreams begin, felt the full breathless pull of the beauty underneath. When the dark unfolds its wings, do you sense the strangest things? Things no one would ever guess, things mere words cannot express. Yes! Do you find yourself beguiled by the dangerous and wild? Do you feed on the need for the beauty underneath? Have you felt your senses surge and surrender to the urge?
It's very difficult to talk about an approach to Love Never Dies by itself. Because, of course, it's not by itself. There are people who saw the original production of Phantom of the Opera, 20-some years ago. Their children have now seen it. People have fallen in love in front of it. People have patterned their weddings after it. Everything we say about this story, everything we say about the relationships, no longer has the blush of youth about it or the illusion of the first time, because our audiences know the Phantom, know Christine, know Raoul, know Giry, know Meg. There are 5 characters that some people have grown up with. I mean, it's gone into the fabric of legend. So when you start to take on a story that people think they know, that's one thing. If you want to take on a great story that people love, like Phantom of the Opera, you better have your whatchamacallit together.
Well, I must say, when I wrote Cats and When Cats became the longest running musical on Broadway, I thought, I'll never ever succeed in even getting near this one. And then nobody thought that The Phantom was going to be quite what it was. I remember it opened in London. It wasn't the favourite of the season, in the sense that it was Chess was the musical everybody thought would be the absolute huge one that year. And we came in as the sort of slight underdog. And it just took off. I mean, it was, I remember the first preview, we knew we had something which was special, but we didn't know that we had anything that was going to quite do this. Well, we didn't know that we were going to have people changing their name to Christine Daae by deed poll and the whole thing that went with it. But this is it's a piece I'm very proud of, I have to say. I think it's maybe more three-dimensional in terms of the characterization than the original piece was, which really is a version of Beauty and the Beast, but the bit of a twist. But this one really does develop the characters in a way that I didn't have the opportunity to do in the old one. And therefore it was a very exciting thing for me to write musically. I'm very proud of it, and I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing it on stage.
Now, this is an extraordinary piece. This is a piece in the great late blooming section of Andrew Lloyd Webber's life. It is the kind of story that he tells singularly, better than anybody writing for theater that I can think of. In the great romantic, lyric, florid, emotional tradition. This isn't hip-hop. This isn't a jukebox musical put together of snippets from other things that you've danced to in the 90s, in the 80s. No. It's emanating out of that river of melody that courses through that man's veins. And it is the end product of a story he began telling 20-odd years ago, 25, 26 years ago. There are times you look back on your life and you think to yourself, I know I'm on this ocean liner, I'm not quite sure where I got on board, but we're certainly in an ocean and I'm on the liner, and so it must be real.
Andrew and I have worked together for 22 years on these albums now, so there's a shorthand in getting what he wants down. And we've developed that over the years, that generally I know what he's looking for. And just basically to work together to get the best result out of everybody.
It's more urgent.
Yeah. It's a little bit slow, isn't it?
Yeah. It has to be the Phantom tempo, which is don, 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 doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest thing that we've all done for a very long time, and you know, there's a sense of history about what we're doing. Because if we were here 25 years ago when it was the original Phantom, look what happened to that. We all have this thing that it could happen again, and you know, it's a great story and should happen again.
Come and meet a friend of mine.
Welcome to my world, my friend.
I think it ought to be a little bit closer to the bridge, you know. I think, come and meet a friend of mine, I think she's edgy, you know. I mean, she's nervous, isn't she?
Come and meet a friend of mine.
Welcome to my world, my friend.
It's going to be going, Gav. We've just got one lyric change that hasn't made it in.
Which one is it? We've got it here on the page.
It's all about storytelling on this one. And Jack, our director, has been here for a couple of days, and we know the story. And you never need... You always remember when you're making an album that you're still trying to tell the story without visuals, so it's tougher. You have to make it even clearer when you don't have the actors up there to look at.
Yes, if that would serve to ease your troubled mind. Well, actually, it should be just it should be a 2/4 bar for a start. That's the way to do that. Okay. So 53 becomes a 2/4 bar.
You know, writing lyrics is a very particular and specific craft. It has to do so many things at once, and it seems very simple on the surface, but you need to take an emotion and distill it down to a poetic essence to find a continuum between whatever the character's spoken language would be and what their sung language would be, and to make sure that those two things feel the same, even though once they start singing, the language takes on a more compressed, poetic quality to it. Working with Andrew on this particular project was a little bit different in that he had a synopsis of the story before we began working together. Andrew made a huge discovery in finding the musical language for these characters and discovering where the emotional heartbeat of the story lay. When Jack and I came on, there was a lot of discovery in how did the story stitch together, how did we flow from one scene to the next, how did the characters interact on a verbal level. You need to make sure that the words that you choose fit into the time and the place that the story is set in. Just this week, Andrew was in the studio recording the album, and he called me up and he said, you know, at one point in this lyric, you used the word rewind. Is that a word that they would have used back then? And I had to sit back and think, no, we use the word rewind because we have tape that you can hit the rewind button on, and it certainly wouldn't be a piece of language that they would use in any sort of colloquial sense in Europe or even America at that time. And so I went back and I changed it to unwind, which gives the same sense but doesn't have that anachronistic sort of jarring quality.
Hi, good morning. I got to tell you, I was asked by the office to come and have a look at this video yesterday afternoon, and they said that they'd hoped I'd like it. And anyway, I'm at the back of the theatre, and I hear this conversation. They said, well, that Webber guy, he's got to be absolutely mad to try and follow that. So I sort of let that go. And then another guy said, what's he going to call it, Ugly Bastard 2? Anyway, So I looked at this video and I thought, you know, major awards and this. I'd have quite liked to have one of them minor ones would have been rather nice. Anyway, thank you for coming here this morning, and let me tell you something about the genesis of Love Never Dies. It was about, I suppose, 16, 17 years ago that I had a dinner with Maria Bjornsson. Maria, of course, is the designer of this incredible set that has really been so much a part of all our lives who've been involved with Phantom, I mean, ever since she came up with it. And it was fantastic design and really a whole part of the whole thing. Sadly, Maria, of course, died a few years ago, very young. And, of course, she's so hugely missed. Anyway, we started talking about the Phantom, and she said to me, you know, it's a bit unsatisfactory, the ending, isn't it, really? I mean, Christine goes off with a rather boring guy. The Phantom disappears. What kind of ending is that? I mean, maybe everybody wanted their money back, I would think, if I think about it. Anyway, so I just started to think about that, and I said to her, what would happen if we took the story 10 years later and we maybe set it in America? Because that would be the logical place for the Phantom to go. And we talked about it a bit, and she said that could be very thrilling, because if he lived in America, because that's the place of penthouses and goodness knows what, this time he could live above everything. And I thought there's a germ of an idea, and I started to think about it. And I met with Frederick Forsyth, the novelist who wrote The Day of the Jackal, and we started work together on shaping a story, which was the story of the Phantom 10 years on, and him coming to New York. And, of course, in our story, which we came up, he became one of the most powerful people in Manhattan. But I could never unlock the story at all. I couldn't make it work musically. Freddie went on and published some of the ideas in a novella called The Phantom of Manhattan. But there it stopped. And about 3 years ago, I came back to the story again, and I worked with a couple of other people, and again I came through it with the whole thing, and I just hit a roadblock again. I couldn't find my way through it at all, until I happened to meet Ben Elton, and Ben said, can I have a look at this story? And he said, you've got a big problem here, because what you've done is you've introduced new characters, and it really should be about all of the old characters. And with that, I set working on a new script, a new story, and I started to collaborate with Glenn Slater, who has written the lyrics, which you will hear some of today, and also with Jack O'Brien, who is our wonderful director, probably best known for Hairspray and The Coast of Utopia in America. We fashioned a new story. Now, I think I should explain what we've done is we've set it in Coney Island. Now, I expect many of you will remember something of Coney Island. At its height, which would have been about 100 years ago, and it stayed there for about 20 years, it was like the eighth wonder of the world. In fact, Sigmund Freud said that the only reason to go to America is to see Coney Island. And so what we've done is we put together a video for you today, which shows you black and white footage of what Coney Island was about 100 years ago. And then I thought what we would do is we would follow it with the moment that we first meet the Phantom in our story. And that is when he's got everything going for him. He's had a fantastic success at Coney Island. Of course, he arrived there as one of the freaks himself, but being the Phantom, he built himself up to being the absolute A1 man, who controls the island. But of course, he is pining for the love of his life. And the first scene that you will see today, sung by Ram Karimloo, who is, of course, the Phantom here in London and will be the Phantom in Love Never Dies, that this is the moment where we first meet him, and he sings a song called Till I Hear You Sing. So I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of our conductor, Simon Lee, our great orchestra, and you're going to see the Coney Island video accompanied by the waltz that I've written, which is more or less the opening of the show itself, and it'll be followed by Ramin singing a short excerpt from the show, ending with Till I Hear You Sing. Thank you very much for coming.
The day starts, the day ends, time crawls by. Night steals in, pacing the floor. The moments creep, yet I can't bear to sleep till I hear you sing. And weeks pass and months pass, seasons fly. Still you don't walk through the door. And in a haze I count the silent days till I hear you sing once more. And sometimes at night time I dream that you are there, but wake holding nothing but the empty air. And years come and years go, time runs dry. Still I ache down to the core. My broken soul can't be alive and whole till I hear you sing once more. And music, your music, it teases at my ear. I turn and it fades away, and you're not here. Let hope pass, let dreams pass, let them die. Without you, what are they for?
Well, thank you very much. Obviously, one thing I didn't say, we made no attempt to stage this at all, as it will be in the production. And this also gives me a wonderful opportunity to introduce our Christine, Sierra Borges, who I saw in Las Vegas, I think it was, wasn't it? It was great Christine she was. And Ramin, thank you. And thank you for keeping the curtain up here every night as well. Very well. Okay, well, I think we're going to say goodbye. And thank you very, very much indeed once again for coming. We're going to have, Simon is going to give us a little bit of music on the way out.
From Friday the 24th of April at 7 p.m. UK time until 7 p.m. on Sunday the 26th of April UK time, Andrew Lloyd Webber will be streaming free of charge the full-length version of the sequel to The Phantom of the Opera, Love Never Dies. The stream will be removed at 7 p.m. UK time on Sunday the 26th of April. This will be pulled sharp. Even if you're in the middle of watching it at 7 p.m, the stream will be removed and the show will stop. So please ensure you give yourself enough time to watch it if you are going to watch it on Sunday. I would suggest start watching it no later than 4 p.m. UK time on Sunday the 26th of April to ensure that you have enough time to see the show in full before it's removed from the internet at 7 p.m. UK time. So you can watch this on a Mac, PC, phone or a tablet. All you need to do is open your browser. Now if you're using a Mac, an iPhone or an iPad, then you can open Safari. If you're using an Android phone or tablet such as an LG or a Samsung etc, you can open Chrome or you can open the browser that's built into the phone or tablet. If you're using a PC, you can use any browser with the exception of Internet Explorer, as Internet Explorer is old, outdated, no longer secure and probably won't be able to play the stream. So I'm going to show you how to get to it on a PC, and I'm going to use my favourite browser, which is Google Chrome. So I'm going to move my mouse over the icon on the desktop and double click on it to open it. And once your browser's open, move your mouse up to the address bar right at the top of the screen and left click once or tap if it's a phone or a tablet. Then press the delete or the backspace key on your keyboard to delete out anything that might be in the address bar. Then you need to type tiny.cc/love-nd. That's tiny.cc/love-nd, all in lowercase and no spaces. Then press enter or return on your keyboard or tap go. This website will load and all you do is scroll down the page and hopefully by 7 p.m. on Friday the 24th of April 2020 you'll see a link there for Love Never Dies. Click on that link and the show will start playing. But like I say, it won't be available until 7 p.m. UK time on Friday the 24th of April. And I can't emphasise enough, it will be removed on Sunday the 26th of April at 7 p.m. UK time. Please ensure that you start watching it before 4 p.m. UK time to ensure that you see the whole show, because the stream will stop running at 7 p.m. even if you've already started watching it. I hope this guide helps, and I hope you enjoy the sequel to The Phantom of the Opera, Love Never Dies.
And years come and years go, time runs dry. Still I ache down to the core. My broken soul can't be alive and whole till I hear you sing once more. And music, your music, it teases at my ear. I turn and it fades away, and you're not here. Let hopes pass, let dreams pass, let them die. Without you, what are they for?